You've talked with passion about guaranteeing a right to rise and how conservative ideas work for everyone. Today, it seems like the only people who get to rise are the well-connected. How do you plan to change that?
Great question. First of all, I've had the practice of doing it being governor of the state of Florida, where, according to Fox Business, of all the candidates running for president that have been a governor, I cut spending the most. We had a basic belief that government income should grow far less than personal income. And every budget I submitted and every budget I signed, all of them balanced, had that principle applied. So at the end of 8 years, government was smaller as it related to the size and scope of people's income. We had $1,500 more money in people's pockets, families in Florida, because of that. We challenged everything. I disrupted the old order, and that's what we need to do in Washington, D.C. If you want to create an environment where people have a chance to rise up, you've got to deal with crony capitalism, the fact that everything's all lobbied up. A tax code now has so many expenditures and carve-outs and credits. We need a simple code. I've proposed this 10 days ago, a code that lowers the rates, the corporate rate to 20%, the lowest in the industrialized world instead of the highest, where we eliminate all of the deductions and carve-outs. Let people decide. Let businesses pursue their success their own way. And that's the way you do it. We lower personal rates as well and put a cap on expenditures or deductions. We also eliminated, by the way, this will be important not just for Washington, but we eliminated state and local tax deductions. So small government states, communities like South Carolina and Florida, aren't subsidizing California and New York and Illinois. This is the way you do it. You shift power back to families, back to communities, to let them make decisions. In the case of Florida, when we did this, our economy grew at 4.4%, about double the rate that we're living with now. We had 4.4% growth. Government grew at half that rate. We were one of 2 states to become AAA bond rated. Compare that to the sorry state of affairs in Washington, D.C., where for the first time in American history, we had a credit downgrade. You can do this if you're serious about applying conservative principles across the board, and that's what I did. I was a disruptor in Tallahassee, and I'll be a disruptor in Washington, D.C. We need a line item veto power for the government. They called me Vito Corleone when I was governor of Florida, for good reason, because I vetoed 2,500 separate line items in the budget, totaling $2 billion. We need to have a balanced budget amendment. Every time a lobbyist meets with an elected official in Washington, there ought to be, in 24 hours, there ought to be some notice of it. If an elected official doesn't show up to work, they ought to have their pay deducted like everybody else in America. You can change the culture, and then you can start fixing the big things that are holding us back. How we tax, how we regulate, embracing the energy revolution, fixing the things that will allow us to grow at a rate that will lift everybody's spirits.